Hello and welcome to this Global Positive Health Institute special science podcast with myself, the president, Liana Lianov, and our secretary of our board, Simon Matthews. And we're delighted to talk to you today on savoring. And so to kick things off, Simon, what is savoring?
Well, savoring, of course, Liana, is that ability that I think we all have to really kind of tune into and appreciate an experience. And I'm going to explain it in terms of food because I happen to love food, and I suspect a lot of people love food. And I think this will be an easy way to understand it. So there are really three types of savouring that we can think about. The first is anticipatory, expecting what's coming. So picture yourself having made a reservation for a restaurant that you really want to go to. You have a little bit of knowledge about what's on the menu. You're really looking forward to the whole experience. That's anticipatory savouring. You can almost kind of bring it to life for yourself just by thinking about what's going to come. Then we have in the moment savouring. So now picture yourself in the restaurant. And the server, brings what you've ordered, places it on the table in front of you, and the look of it, the presentation, the aroma, and then you delicately pick some up on your fork and taste it, and that first kind of explosion of flavour in your mouth, that's in the moment savouring. And then, of course, we've got reminiscent savouring, which is after the fact. And these are those experiences which I'm sure all of us have, where we think back on those moments that really spoke to us, really melded with us, really helped us to feel like we were truly alive and experiencing something delightful. And that's when you might, of course, share the recollection with a partner or a colleague or a friend of that experience that you shared together. And interestingly, the reminiscent experience can then expand because your anticipatory experience might have been of eating the food, but your reminiscent experience is the whole thing. It was the eating the food, it was the arriving there, it was the expectation, it was the conversation that you had, and so on. So the reminiscent experience is often much richer than the anticipatory experience, which is interestingly because we know that positive reminiscence is related to savouring, and positive reminiscence has its own particular superpower for us. I wonder if you could tell us about that, Leon.
Yes, and I will. Thank you for the question. I just wanted to add with the lovely introduction you did on savoring, is that when, especially in the moment, savoring, if we could really focus on that, pay attention to it, it actually expands and lengthens the positive experience and the emotions. So that was actually how I first learned about savoring. It's like, oh, there's these good moments. How do we make them last? Well, we pay attention to them in the moment. But back to your question about positive reminiscence, yes, that can be very powerful. We have some scientific studies that show that if we can really reflect on positive experiences and relive that positive experience psychologically, and our bodies react as if it's happening now, even though we're remembering it, and it has some neurohormonal benefits to us. And so the science showed that helps to decrease depression. It helps to increase our feeling of life satisfaction if we're looking back at all these wonderful moments that we've experienced. And this is certainly a very important part of building resilience and building positive health.
Yeah, wonderful. So there are some other mechanisms, of course, that help us to boost our mood, and unsurprisingly, they're related to the various channels, if you like, through which we experience life. So cognitive ways in which reminiscence can boost our mood include things like thinking about ourselves in a particular situation, reinforcing positive self-narratives that we have about ourselves, and that in turn helps to foster a particular mindset that we might have oriented towards growth or development or change or integration. There are affective pathways in which we experience uplifting emotions, gratitude, joy, awe, and so on. There are physiological pathways. These are the pathways through which our parasympathetic nervous system often gets activated. And we know that when the parasympathetic nervous system activates, the sympathetic nervous system tends to recede a little bit. That results in decreased cortisol levels. That results in a subjective experience of lowered stress, more engagement, more harmony, and so on. And then, of course, the social pathways, shared positive reminiscences, which we've already spoken about. Interestingly, these also correspond really nicely to Albert Bandura's pathways to self-efficacy. So Bandura happens to have articulated essentially the same four channels which we can use to enhance our own self-efficacy, and we can also use these pathways to boost mood.
Yeah, wonderful. This is lovely. You framed how savoring is part of a toolbox in positive health and positive psychology of ways that we can promote our well-being and boost our mood. But back to our main topic for right now, which is savoring. I have been thinking about, and we're trying to promote very practical ways to do this. So what are some really practical ways? Well, one is memory cues. One of my favorites, of course, is looking at photos. And that brings back the whole experience, positive experience of whatever event. It was a birthday party or a wonderful trip. It all comes back to you. And particularly if we can link that to the whole sensory part of our experience, it can be very powerful. And I like to travel around the world, and I have various mementos. And it's interesting that as much as I like photos, one of my favorite mementos that has brought back savoring for me in spades was that a couple of years ago I was in the Middle East, and I got this beautiful glass perfume bottle, and I got it because it was beautiful, but it happened to also have some amazing aromatic perfume in it. And I now keep it on my bedstand, and every once in a while I'll open it up and take a whiff, because I don't actually wear perfume per se, but that whiff is just so powerful to bring back that amazing trip that I had a couple of years ago. It's my favorite way to engage the senses. We can actually schedule savoring. We can have, for example, a Sunday brunch where we're with family or friends, and we pull out the photo albums or on our phones, or just reminisce, share stories of wonderful past events, and build that into our regular lives as well, is another practical tip. And then, of course, we can build this into clinical and counseling, and one could have a counselor help walk one through savoring experiences. And in fact, with the elderly, they found, who have had, of course, many, many life experiences, is if a counselor or coach can help them recreate that and remember the wonderful experience of their lives, that can really help, again, with lowering stress, lowering depression, and increasing their life satisfaction.
Yeah. Here's the really amazing thing about all of this too, Liana. While you've been talking, so you mentioned that scent in a bottle, and when I was in Doha, Qatar, last year, I went to the Souk Waqif, which is the big market there. You've probably been there as well, and I bought a bottle of oud malaki. And oud, O-U-D, is a Middle Eastern scent. It's kind of woody and earthy and tobacco-ish, and it's an absolutely delightful scent. Simply while you've been talking about that, I'm able to bring that to mind for myself and experience that. Similarly, when you talked about travels, I also love traveling, as you know. My cell phone is my positive reminiscence device because, and I'm very careful to back it up, I have 30,000 photographs on my cell phone of all my travels all over the world. And it's so easy just to, well, I can do it in so many ways. I can pick a location, or I can pick a time, or I can just randomly flick through and find a photograph that brings back, a positive reminiscence of an experience I've had. And just in the time you've been talking, I've been kind of mentally running through my mind some of the more recent photographs I have on my phone that I know are there, and just reconnecting with those experiences. So it's extraordinarily powerful, even when it's one step removed, as it has been in our conversation.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you for sharing that, Simon. So as we close out this science podcast, it'd be good to share with our listeners a couple of studies that are
Yeah,
really resonating in a scientific way what we've been talking about. And one of
absolutely.
them, and we will make sure and in the descriptions below we include our references so our readers can check out these studies for themselves. But there is a study in the journal Emotion that talks about savoring, and they were trying to sort out kind of what are the mediating mechanisms, right, for that, and how we can improve our overall well-being and decrease stress through savoring, and in which age group this is most powerful. And it's interesting that they found, as I was alluding to earlier, counselors use this in folks who are dealing with aging, having more depression, more medical issues, that doing a savoring exercise with them is really powerful for those who are in the later years in life. So that's a particularly important lesson, as well as it's powerful for everyone, but especially important for us as health professionals to be thinking about this when we're teaching and coaching individuals who are facing their later years.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's bookend that and come right back to college students. And a 2019 study, which was published in the Journal of American College Health, focused on a savoring intervention and the well-being of college students. And so essentially what the researchers did was just a 4-week intervention, not very long. And the intervention was focused on things like journaling, sharing positive memories, practicing mindfulness around positive experiences. And what they found just in 4 weeks in those college students was that intervention increased life satisfaction, it increased optimism, it increased resilience compared to a control group that didn't get that intervention. So one of the really important takeaways from this, of course, is that savouring can be taught. We can learn how to savour, even if we've grown up in environments where, maybe that wasn't necessarily practiced or we didn't necessarily get exposed to that. We can teach savouring. We can teach it to ourselves. We can teach it to others. And we already understand the power of it when we're able to engage with it.
This is great. And these are just 2 studies out of many. In the field of positive psychology and positive health, savoring is one of the key, what we'd call positive psychology interventions or positive health interventions. So I hope we've inspired our listeners to do a little bit for themselves and their patients. Simon, what's your takeaway? Are you gonna do anything different related to savoring in your life?
Probably not different, but just continue what I do, and so probably a little later this evening, I will flick through some photos on my phone, and just reconnect with some moments that were significant for me. I've got some recent pictures of my granddaughter on my phone, so I'll probably take a look at those. And also, tomorrow, as it happens, tomorrow and the day after are public holidays here in Spain for different reasons. One's a Spanish public holiday, one's a Madrid holiday. So, after this conversation, I'm going to make sure that I engage with and really immerse myself in some of those festivities, which will no doubt be blossoming all over the city. What about you?
Wonderful. I think that I'm going to try, maybe not on a weekly basis, but even say a bi-weekly basis, to schedule a time with some family and friends, close family and friends, and enjoy a nice, healthy meal together, and pull out some of those albums, or pull out the photos of our shared experiences, and make this a scheduled event to share. And also, another way that we can do this is through a more regular journaling, and we'll have another podcast on gratitude. Gratitude journaling is often talked about, but there's also savoring journaling, or even just keeping in mind, on a regular basis. And the regularity is really important, of paying attention to what's going well in our lives.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm hoping to do more of this, and especially since it's more powerful as we age, I hope to increase it as I age.
Wonderful. One more thing, Liana. I want to remember this moment.
Yes, and we're going to schedule a time to remember this wonderful moment we've shared. So thank you so much, Simon Matthews, and thank you to our listeners of this GPHI Science podcast. Please subscribe, and hope to see you on another one of these podcasts. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.